Johnny Bench is tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant.
Larkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none.
Welcome Joe Landa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again.
Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the wall. Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did. He did. Reds win. Reds win. Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, folks, my apologies because I decided to run a golf tournament today and didn't really factor in that it was an hour away, and then by the time that was over, I had to drive home. So yeah, I just walked in the door about 2 minutes ago. I have about 12 to 15 pizza rolls, Mike, and I have nothing to drink. Actually, I do have something to drink, so there's that. I have some water, and I'm also running the graphics package. So if it seems like I'm maybe a little disorganized tonight, that would be why. But you know who else is disorganized? Perhaps just a little? Our Cincinnati Reds. So maybe they'll love us both. Mike, I don't know if we've done a show together. I'm trying to think on the way home. I don't think we've done a show together. So nice to be on the airwaves, I guess, or the stream or the video, whatever term we use on these things. Nice to do a show with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think we did the pregame show at Smoke Justice together.
Count.
Yeah, all right. That was special circumstances. But yeah,
right.
This is my maiden voyage with you on the postgame show. Yes,
and you know what? We'll see how it goes. I know that there are going to be some people that want this show to go one of two ways. You know, it's I don't know where it's going to go with me. I'm just disheartened at this point. It feels like, Mike, you get into a spot where you have a real chance. Like, you know, we talk all season long, and we try to convince ourselves all season long that, if you play the right way or you do this, or maybe you get on a hot streak here, you can kind of maybe accidentally find yourself in a spot you're not supposed to be, kind of like you're playing a little bit over your head. No. Coming into this weekend, they played probably what many of us would consider not even good baseball to the level that we thought we were going to have to get to be able to make the postseason. Not at all, Mike. The door was wide open. It was extremely open. I think, honestly, the front door and the back door was open, and if there was a side door, I would even consider that to be open as well. And what do we do? We slam the front door shut, we slam the side door shut, and we go to the back and we slam it shut as well. 3 straight days, 3 straight losses to an inferior team. And if you don't think they're an inferior team, then I guess what I would say is then that's fine. If you are going to convince me, and maybe you will, Mike, that the A's are good, or the A's are formidable, or the A's are something that you shouldn't take advantage of, then we're not good. Then we're basically who we are. This team, all season long, has played to the level of their competition. And you know what? I don't know who that falls on. I'm not totally sure, but I'm sure we'll get into it. Mike, again, to be clear, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the game, but more or less, I'm sad as a fan. We can call it however we wish, but I'm more or less sad.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Sad is a great way to put it. Just kind of, defeated. Just resolved that this team ran out of gas and wasn't, really didn't play up to a way that a playoff team should. I was talking with Craig last night about it, and it's just like, yeah, I guess 2.5 or it was 1.5 last night seems doable, but like, what has this team showed you in the past week, month that shows that they are in any way going to be able to fight this for the playoffs, let alone do anything in the playoffs? So it's just sad to see, I know we've pronounced the season dead a few times now, and the Mets inexplicably have kept us in it, but it tonight really feels like the coffin nail, right? The last nail in the coffin here. You get swept by, I don't think the A's are good. They were 69-80 coming into this game. The last place in their division, playing in a ballpark where they're, I think as a team have almost over a 6 ERA, and now they could hit, but boy, we got shut out in the first game and then just couldn't take advantage of opportunities. And to be honest, we didn't look like the better team. I genuinely think that the A's are not as good of a team as the Reds as a whole for this season, but we look like the worst team. We look like the team that was, not driving in runs, that was coming in and not being able to hold leads and looked lost and frankly defeated at the end of this series. And it's sad to see that that's where we're going to be left for the last 2 weeks of this season.
Yeah, there's always a chance. That's the truth. I mean, there's always a chance, but I'm with you, Mike. It's like at some point you're just so defeated by watching this team each and every single day that they don't even make it. It's like I don't. Of course, I'm an analogy guy. I don't really have a perfect analogy right now. It's almost like we've gotten to the point where we feel so disgusted about any of it that you just throw the rest of it away, right? It's like you I don't know, maybe you kicked over your can of your beverage. Maybe you're having a cold one. You kicked over your can. It's like the third one you dropped in a row. And it's almost like you're just like, you know what, pour the rest of it out. I don't even need it. I don't even want it anymore. Get it out of my face. I'm tired of seeing it. It's kind of how I feel about this baseball team. It's just like every time that this damn team reels you back in, gets you into a really good spot where you feel like, you know what, maybe I was wrong. Maybe all along I was wrong about these guys because they are playing better. They have found themselves in a spot where you think they can do it. And then every single time, they don't even, not only do they kind of keep you somewhat in it, no, they literally like give you a 1-2 punch to make you feel like you're right back to where you started, if not even farther behind. And yeah, I know we've sat here and maybe just done nothing but complain the whole time about it, but that, I guess where I'm going with it, that is who this team is. That's how I have them pegged at this point. It's sad, but it's like, you know what? It's almost like your friend in high school is going to tell you he's going to stop smoking cigarettes. And it's like, oh, okay. And then you know what? They go about a week without smoking cigarettes, and you're like, wow, maybe they're going to stop. And then they're sure enough, a couple days later, they're back to ripping some cigs again. I don't know. I give up. I give up with this team, and we'll talk about it and more as to what's maybe more even more frustrating is some of the success that they've had maybe this weekend. I would even go so far to say, Mike, that could be even more infuriating, is the success that some players have had over this weekend, that you found yourself in a spot now asking yourself, what in the absolute hell were we doing all year long? And I know it's going to sound like we're sitting here trying to jump on a take that we sound like we were right about. That's not it at all. I don't give a damn. I'm wrong plenty. Trust me. I know I'm wrong a lot. But I also know that when you watch a team as much as we do, one thing I would like to give all of us fans credit for, Mike, I'm tired of hearing about a Hall of Fame manager 100% right no matter what. That's what I'm tired of hearing about. Okay? He's human just like we are. And I'm not just trying to put it all on Tito, but the whole entire front office can be blamed as well.
Yeah, and I think part of the frustrating thing about this too is I live in Columbus. I have a lot of friends that are Guardians fans, and the moment that Tito was hired, they were like, "Oh, good, man, that's an awesome hire. This is going to be great for you." And then it starts off a little shaky, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" They're like, "Oh, don't worry. Tito always has his guys playing the best baseball at the end. We're always, riding right to the end and making the push into the playoffs. So don't worry, it's going to get better." And it's pretty hard to say that this past month has been the Reds playing their best baseball. I feel like we've been sold a bill of goods about this guy, that he's going to change the culture and update things and make it different so that we don't get to the end of the season and we don't kind of just fall flat because we're tired or because, I don't know, for all a litany of reasons. And, it doesn't seem like we've changed. It doesn't seem like there's much difference. This was the calling card for David Bell, right? It's like we'd get going, we'd get close, and then we just kind of peter out at the end of the season. And what have we done? We've gotten close. We've been kept in it by other teams' terrible play, and we've just petered out at the end of the season. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve for the next 13 games, but it sure doesn't look like it. And it is frustrating because you felt like the thing that could be the difference would be something like that. The intangibles, the coaching pedigree that can get these guys to believe, get these guys to perform over their expected stats. And we just haven't seen that. I mean, for a couple exceptions, maybe, Marte. But besides that, we've just been faced with underperformance and then baffling decisions about when to bring people up and when to play people that has, felt like that's brought us to this point. Now, it's not all on the coaches. It's not all on Tito, but when you're billed as the Hall of Fame manager, you really hope that would be something that can make a difference. And here we are. Doesn't seem to have done that.
Can we also agree as a fan base, I would hope, collectively, to understand that if you're more than 15 games behind anyone in your division, you're just not probably a good team. I mean, maybe an average team, maybe a mediocre team, but not a good team. Not a team that you should justifiably, in my opinion, get extremely excited for. I mean, right. We're 16 and a half games back at the Milwaukee Brewers. And I get the Milwaukee Brewers have had an unbelievable season. I'm not taking anything away from them. But 16 and a half games back? I don't give a damn. I mean, yeah, the Cubs, very good team. 5.5 back of the Brewers. Makes perfect sense. I would even say, you know what? Call it 8, 9 back of a team that's as good as the Brewers. You could justifiably say you're a good team still. 16 and a half is where we sit. 2.5 now in the wild card. 4-6 in the last 10, losers of 3 straight, and we are who we are. We are who we are. 42 and 43 against teams with a record of greater than 500. Just an average. We're an average baseball team that unfortunately has got us excited a few times this year, that has made us believe they might get into a watered-down playoff situation in Major League Baseball. But we'll talk about it. Obviously, they played a game today. Mike, usually, obviously, this is the Nick Kirby box score recap. I guess today you're going to do the honors and have some fun with it. We'll see how it goes for you, considering it was a tough one to watch.
Yep, I did prepare the box score recap, obviously presented by our fearless leader, Nick Kirby, who normally does this. But, the Reds came in today trying to avoid being swept to the 69-80 last place A's in their AAA ballpark. They were still a game and a half back from a playoff spot. And we had Nick Lodolo on the mound against Luis Morales. And, once again, just like yesterday, the Reds started off hot, scoring in the top of the first. MiLB Marte golfed his 13th home run out to left field. The Reds led 1-0. And then in the top of the second, after a Lux walk, Will Benson again hit his 4th home run in just his 7th start to give us a 3-0 lead. And things were looking up. It was looking like, hey, maybe we can pull one out here and keep our playoff hopes alive. And in the top of the 4th, Gavin Lux tripled to start off an inning, and after a line out by Benson to Nick Kurtz, Ke'Bryan Hayes grounded out to a drawn-in infield, and Lux was thrown out at the plate, again failing to get a runner home from third with nobody out. And just what we have expected to see from this season. And, that would come back and bite the Reds, because in the bottom of the 4th, Jacob Wilson and Colby Thomas each hit solo home runs off Lodolo, who had been rolling till then, and it was only 3-2 Reds. Then in the bottom of the 5th, after getting 2 outs, Nick Lodolo hit Jacob Wilson and then Nick Kurtz. Only got his 2nd hit of the series, but also his 2nd home run of the series, giving the A's a 4-3 lead. Lodolo would give up one more run in the 6th off a Brett Harris double, making it 5-3 A's, leaving his final line at 5 1/3, 8 hits, 5 runs, no walks, and 5 strikeouts. The Reds offense continued to be baffled by the bad Oakland bullpen, and Brent Rooker hit a 2-run home run off of Zach Maxwell in the 7th inning, making it 7-3 A's. But in the top of the 8th, Sal Stewart hit another laser beam, 106.7 miles per hour off the bat, and it cleared the left field wall for already his 3rd home run in just 32 big league at-bats, and it whittled the lead to 7-4. But that is all the fight the Reds had left in them, and they ended up this game getting swept by the A's in Sacramento. And with the Mets' walk-off win earlier today, they fall to 2.5 back with just 13 games to play.
All right, and we do have a deep drive of the day, thankfully. We got deep drives of the day now. Even though we don't win baseball games, we have some legitimate deep drives of the day. Sal Stewart, baby. 3rd home run of the year, and you heard it from Mike in just 30-plus Major League at-bats. 106.7 off the bat, 417 feet. Win probability, unfortunately, for the Reds would double, but that would make it 6.5%. Not something that, not something to probably get extremely excited about. But you know what? It's nice to see Sal Stewart hitting home runs, because that's what he was billed to do. DSC, they are a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information, and thank you to John and his team. All right. I put why. Now, you might ask yourself, what does that even mean? I think that's a very, very, very deep question to ask about this team and organization right now. Why do we find ourselves in what feels like the same predicament year in and year out? Are we the worst team? No. No, we're not. Are there some things that you could like possibly heading into the next season that you can kind of justify getting a little excited about? Yep. But is it ever good enough? And it hasn't been. And I'm at a point now, Mike, where I got to ask, and I'd like for someone, at least in the organization, to let me know, what is the plan? What is the roadmap? Because it seemed like, to me, they were going to try to build within, get a young core, push them through, live and die by them, to be honest with you. Live and die by them, and hopefully they progress and get better, and you find yourself either having a legitimate team that's going to make the postseason year in and year out for the next, call it 2 to 3 to 4 years, or you're going to hopefully, what I would consider, develop, get a little bit better, then make that jump the next year. Well, in 2023, that was the hope. And I think, for all intents and purposes, Mike, 2023, we were all excited. I mean, let's face it, we were projected to win 60 plus, 60, 7 games, I think it was, and they ended up winning 82 games. They had the likes of McLean and CES and Marte and Ellie, and that was just an incredible core, and you could even justify it by saying they even had some other guys that were on the way. And all you really needed to do was maybe just get a little bit of help from a free agent perspective, and you're on your way. Now we find ourselves in a spot 2 years removed from that, playing a lot of guys, Mike, that really are just average big league players that are either retreads or offseason acquisitions or guys that we've gotten over kind of at the deadline that, aren't bad. I mean, Andujar, for all intents and purposes, not a bad player, but we don't have anybody that I would say pencil them in next year. I know what I got, and I guarantee you they're going to produce. I don't know if we have anybody, and it feels like we're right back in limbo. And I know Ellie's probably the closest thing to that, but let's face it, the power is gone. It's zapped. I don't know where the hell the power has gone, but you know what? That's the most concerning thing I have at this point is are we going to be a small ball baseball team and situational hit and all these things that we've been told, Mike? Or are we going to look at today's game and realize, wow, this whole thing looks a lot different when guys just hit the ball out of the ballpark? Because that's what the A's did.
Yeah, and it's pretty hard to think about, say, next year and, hey, what does success look like next year? Or how are we going to see any sort of improvement from this year without it being like, hey, we need certain people to take some serious leaps. And unfortunately, that's not often how baseball development works. We've seen that with Ellie, probably take a pretty big leap last year. And then I think all would say maybe take a little bit of a step back this year, especially in the second half. Matt McLean, we saw him come up and tear the cover off the ball, be second on this team and wins above replacement. And then after an injury, has taken another big step back. Now, I'm not giving up on these guys, but it is unfortunate when you're in a position like this, cheering for a team that we know how this offseason is going to go. It's like, that's what's kind of frustrating is like we can see what's going to happen because we've already seen it. They're going to, maybe sign a couple Austin Hayes types, maybe somebody to, fill in some spots, maybe fill in some bullpen. And then kind of just run it back with the guys that we have. And they say, well, we think Stevenson's going to take a leap. We think McLean's going to take a leap. Sal Stewart's going to get into there and he's going to take a leap. And maybe we even start, getting some more contribution from Benson. And then with our pitching, we'll roll it out there and we'll take our chances. And at some point you start thinking, man, am I the insane one? Am I the person that keeps buying in every year when they keep doing the same stuff and, we end up with the same result. It's unfortunate. I think that there are times when you can get to end of seasons and you can be like, well, so-and-so is hurt. So-and-so is coming back. So-and-so, looked good here and maybe had some setbacks. So, but next year, we can see where the leap comes. I don't know. I'm with you. It doesn't feel that way now. It doesn't feel like, it's set up to be like, oh yeah, this is for sure, 5 wins better next year. It's like, we're going to have to get all kinds of additional production because we're not going to go out and sign a Schwarber or, somebody that's going to be really move the needle for us. And I can totally understand why Reds fans this fan base feels like it doesn't actually look better for next year, even though, we kind of overperformed this year.
Yeah, I think the bill of goods is going to be sold as, well, Matt McLean's going to be better. He's a year removed, another year removed from the injury. He's going to be fully healthy. He's going to bounce back. Ellie's going to not have a fluky second half. These are all the things you're going to hear. I don't know who they go out and get to help with the power or the pop. The whole idea that Will Benson's going to play, I don't believe it either. I really don't. I know that sounds insane to say, but and to be fair, here's the crazy thing. On a good baseball team, Will Benson Will Benson's like a good bench player. Like he's a good spot platoon starter, and I think probably a good guy to bring off the bench to face, right-handed pitching late in a game if there was a left-handed starter that you can then put in the outfield as a good defensive replacement. Like, I don't know whether you want to call him a bench player or not based off that role, but that's what a good baseball team would do with Will Benson. But now, quite frankly, he looks like one of the better hitters in the lineup. At least one of the ones that you feel like, you know what? I mean, hell, we're down 3. There's a guy on first base with 2 outs. He might put us within a run. There's just not enough of those guys in this lineup. If anything, the A's kind of showcased, yeah, you might not have like a great like offensive plan in regards to being able to get guys on and continuing to hit doubles and moving guys over and getting them in from third base with less than 2 outs. All those things sound good in principle, but as Nick has been preaching and I'm starting to kind of come over to the bandwagon, it seems like you'd rather have guys who strike out more and hit home runs, because it seems like the way the game is going, that's the best way to maximize your run potential. It's the best way to try to get, score multiple runs in an inning. It's the way we scored today. I mean, it's the way we scored today. And it just seems like, we're obviously going to talk about Lodolo and the bullpen in a minute, but it's just I guess my thing is, Mike, we're a month removed from all the guys that helped us score runs today. They didn't play. They weren't even on the team.
Right. And not to mention also these home runs maximizes the advantage that you would like to have for playing 81 games at Great American Ballpark. I think part of it too, with the frustration that we saw tonight, is the A's, I mean, that ballpark, that whatever you want to call that AAA ballpark, that, has rated out as the second most hitter-friendly ballpark other than Coors Field. And that was a team that was built to take advantage of that. They were built to hit the ball out. And the frustrating thing is it's not as crazy as this ballpark, but we hit in a very hitter-friendly ballpark, and we decide, hey, we don't want to take advantage of that. We want to get all the deficit when it comes to our pitching, and giving up all these cheap solo home runs that we have to give up. And then we don't want to take advantage of it on the batting side because we don't want to play our guys that have power upside. We've been so married to Gavin Lux and earlier in the year, Santiago Espinal, and, people that have shown no power. We're talking None. 2 home runs, I think, for Lux, 0 home runs for Espinal. So it's one of those things where it's the disconnect between not only how baseball is going, and I am sympathetic to the argument of like, hey, we want to make sure that we're a more complete team, not striking out as much, right? Because obviously the A's aren't, that's not a playoff team either, right? So I would argue that that's because of their pitching, not because of their hitting. And they obviously tear the cover off the ball. But it's like, if we are going to go and take advantage of what we have there, why wouldn't we try to be able to do that, even if it is, costing us a little bit when it comes to strikeout percentage? I don't think that that's something that's going to be able to ring through to Tito in however long he's left here, but it is frustrating to see. And I think it was even more frustrating because of the contrast of what we watched with the A's this weekend. Nick Kurtz, their big guy, the guy who's going to win Rookie of the Year, the guy who everyone's clamoring we should have taken over Chase Burns. He had 2 hits this whole series, right? He had 2 hits. But nobody looks at this series and be like, man, what the heck was he doing all series? Because he hit a 500-foot grand slam and then a 2-run home run to give the A's the lead in this game, right? Correct. He was able to change on a, like, objectively not a very good series offensively. Struck out a bunch, but was able to change the game because of his prodigious power. So, that type of thing, I think, that power is something that can cover a lot of ills. And, to see it, especially when you see it from somebody like an Elly De La Cruz, who we saw it. We've seen that ball had a family. We see him go 3/4 of the way up the moon deck, and to not hit a home run in August and September is just criminal. It's just so unfortunate to see. I don't know how much the injury is dealing with that.
I think it's all mental, man. It has to be mental at some point, right? Like, can we all agree that even if he had a bum quad or had something else going on, that, he's going to run into one.
Right.
One. It just seems like we've gotten, I don't know, Mike, if I'm all in on just blaming Vlaka. I don't know if I'm in on blaming Tito. I don't know if I'm upset because there's been some fundamental organizational shift on offensive philosophy and the mindset of, making sure you put the ball in play, you do the right thing, you get the guy over, you get him in from third base, all of this stuff that, I will openly say, that is a lot of baseball talk. That's a lot of things that are said within the clubhouse. Those are things that are said ever since you grow up and you play high school baseball and on. It's just stuff that you hear, like, hey, you did a good job getting him over. You did a good job getting him in with a sacrifice fly. The problem is that, the same way that pitching has evolved with velocity and spin rates and guys trying to maximize their effort as much as humanly possible, and you don't have guys throwing 88 miles an hour that's where they tap out at. Like Jamie Moyer, there is no Jamie Moyer anymore. Like there is no guy that can possibly throw 90 mile an hour topping out and be so good from a consistent location standpoint that he's able to consistently get guys out over a long period of time. The same way that has changed in pitching is kind of the same way that has changed in hitting, right? You can go, as you've said, a whole series and only have 2 hits, but if those are 2 meaningful home runs, it doesn't matter. The same thing that the Reds are. Like, here's the issue, and this is why I say why. The philosophy from the front office this offseason was exactly what? You bring in Gavin Lux, right? That's fine. But did you bring him in to play left field? Was that the plan? And if it is the plan, you're telling me 2 things. One, his defense is going to be probably bad because he's never played out there before. And also, he doesn't have any pop. You're putting him in a position, a profiled position, that should have some pop. And if you're going to tell me, well, they could DH him, again, going back to the same sentiment, where's the pop? I'm going to go through the whole thing here, and I know people are going to get pissed off at me, but you know what? I've been preaching this all year, and this is the night to finally put the nail in the coffin on this. I'm done talking about it, but let's go through it again, shall we? First base, okay, is a position of pop. It's a place that you turn to say, you know what? We need to get some production out of that from a power perspective. And Spencer Steer, as much as I've kind of dogged him at first base a little bit, he has done more than you could have ever asked at first base. He has been put in a position that he's never played before, and I thought he did a serviceable job. And I think he played hurt, which is kind of crazy to me. But you know what? There's not a lot of pop there. There's just not. Second base, Mike, has been absent. One of the worst players in the entire league all year long. Second base. Your shortstop hasn't hit a home run since the All-Star break. He's one of the guys that coming into this year, you would say, well, he's probably going to be one of our more of our higher profile kind of OPS guys, probably going to slug a little bit. He has some power, has some speed to leg out some doubles and triples from time to time. That's been gone. Third base, which is a spot that you could argue is another profiled position to do what? Hit home runs and mash the baseball. And what did we do? We tried to put Santiago Espinal there half the time. We had Jamier Candelario, who was supposed to help out there, who obviously is absent completely now. But I'm just saying, when they signed him, that's where he was supposed to play. I know that was so long ago, you kind of forget about it, but that was the truth. And then now you traded, and again, Brian Hayes, I got to be honest with you, I love the guy. For all intents and purposes, I'm not trying to downplay him, but this is another guy that has no pop. There's no power. There's no fundamental kind of normal position at third base that you would say, you know what, we really are going to believe in this guy offensively. I just went through the whole damn infield. And not a single one of them was a good result.
It doesn't get better in the outfield.
Go ahead. I'll let you take it. People are trying to hear me, but you can go ahead and go through the outfield.
Right. You're right. Your corner outfielders are supposed to be somebody that, is getting, has pop. And Austin Hayes, I don't have his up there. Austin Hayes, when, obviously has played well in certain aspects of it, but when you're signing a guy for $5 million, that's, you're not expecting a guy for pop. So it's like who we had scripted for left field was, Austin Hayes, Gavin Lux, Spencer Steer, right? That was kind of our plan going into the season in left field. We just talked about Lux and Steer, and then Austin Hayes, while I think has been better than his $5 million price tag, still not giving us pop there. And then, right field, we had, that was the concoction of, Jacob Hurtubise, Blake Dunn. We were just throwing everybody out there until we finally landed on moving Marte. And frankly, that's probably one of the biggest bright spots because, that was a gamble, moving your high prospect at the right field, having never really played in the outfield. And has he made some errors? Yeah. But he's also looked like well enough to where you can see yourself is like, that guy's the right fielder next year. And then for sure. And, young guys like that, look at Fernando Tatis Jr., right? Infielder, all kinds of crazy athletic talent, turned into being a platinum glove winner in right field. I'm not saying that's what Marte can be, but, with an offseason that he is able to work on that and continue just reps out there, he's still under 100 games ever playing out there. I can expect him to improve there. And then, mixing with Benson, I guess, right field, we have some guys that have hit for power, but to be honest, we put a bunch of people out there. We continued to roll people out there. Jake Fraley, forgot about him, that didn't have power. So it was clear that was in no way our expectation. And, TJ Friedl is what TJ Friedl is. There aren't very many center fielders that are thought to be, big power hitters. But still, it's one of those things where, you look at each and how things were run out and just like, what was their plan going into the season? The plan was, we're gonna, what do we say? We say Hayes, Lux, and Steer in left, Friedl in center, and then, like a Benson, Fraley, Jacob Hurtubise platoon out in right field. I just like that. To me, looking at how the season went and this team's just utter lack of being able to hit the ball out of the ballpark, from a roster building perspective, that's not good enough, right? That's not good enough to be able to put yourself into a position to be able to take advantage of your ballpark and win games that frankly you should, because you're hitting the ball out of the ballpark. So
I get it. We're on the same page. The roster build's nowhere near good enough. It's not even remotely close. And Nick Krall's claim to fame right now is really building within, drafting and developing and bringing guys up here. And that might be the most damning thing, I think, so far of this whole entire situation is that you have Matt McLain and Ellie De La Cruz, two of the bigger disappointments this year from a development perspective. Now, I know that one of them got hurt and maybe the other is dealing with an injury, but it doesn't matter. Like that's the thing. Is like we can't sit here and keep on giving excuses after excuse after excuse as to why these guys aren't kind of getting better. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's the only way. All right. If we're going to have sustainable success or whatever the hell that Nick Krall always that's his like company line. Every time he kind of gets in a tough spot, he just goes straight to, well, we got to do these things because we want sustainable success. The reality is that, and I've said this before, in order for you to have sustainable success, you have to do something at an elite level, better than the rest of the league. And he has proven that he's done nothing at an elite level. And I'm not trying to kill Nick Krall and say he's the guy to go after and say it's all his fault. I'm just saying, though, at some point, we can all at least agree that from a drafting perspective, we could sit here and act like Rhett Lauder was a great pick. We can sit here and act like Chase Burns was a great pick. We can sit here and act like, I guess, to a certain extent, taking Matt McLain was a great, like all of these things we can say those things, but we've not hit the home run yet. And to be honest, he has gotten a little bit, and I'll give him some credit. I'm not saying it's not. He already hit on a lottery ticket, Mike. Like Ellie De La Cruz was not a calculated decision that he made. He quite literally, the kid could have gotten cut when he was playing for the DSL Rojas. Like nobody would have batted an eye. They signed him. They didn't even go down there to look at him. They went down there to look at a different guy. They signed him for $30,000. It's not like Nick Krall was out here like, that's our guy. Let's go get him. No. Derek Johnson. I believe in him. But outside of that, who the hell else are we supposed to believe in this organization? Literally. There's nobody that can say that they're doing a great job. And you know what? In order to win with the Reds, you don't just have to do a great job. I would say you have to do a phenomenal job based off the resources that are given to you. And I am so tired of hearing about sustainable success when we go out and we swing and miss on Jeimer Candelario at the trade deadline, right? No disrespect, but we had an opportunity, Mike, to go out and sell on some pieces that I think were high. Nick Lodolo was never going to be more valuable, ever. And we didn't do anything. We had expiring contracts with some guys I'm sure we could have gotten rid of for something, whether that be Nick Martinez, whether that be, and again, I don't know what you get out of Austin Hayes. I don't know what it looks like at the deadline, but you get something. I guarantee you that. And I know Nick Martinez would have garnered something back. But you stand pat and you say that you're going to go for it, and your additions at the deadline was to take one of the worst, offensive players in Major League Baseball when your team already can't score and you put him at third base. And your other strategy was to go out and get a guy who's given up the most home runs in Major League Baseball. And, oh, by the way, you don't go out and get a left-handed reliever when you know you need that.
A third baseman that blocks your number one prospect as well.
Exactly. I mean, where's Sal Stewart going to play now? Is he supposed to be a first baseman? Because if here's what I would say about Sal Stewart. If he's supposed to be a first baseman, with all due respect to Sal Stewart, his value comes down. He's not as valuable at first base.
Yeah. Hopefully if he does, at least he can hit home runs. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that there is a lot of, it is kind of what we expected in that they just kind of sat in the middle. And imagine if, a lot of these teams, went out and they did a little bit and it just really fizzled. Imagine if Andujar and I guess Littell hasn't been as great since when he first got here, but he's just like, imagine if we would have went out and got these guys and they hadn't produced. This is like, then it's just like, we kind of barely went for it and then didn't even get much production out of it. And, Hayes and Andujar have obviously been bright spots in offensively, but where they fit into our long-term plan, I guess you put Hayes because of his defense at third base, and an argument could be made that it's so good there that it's that game-changing, right? So, I could be convinced about that, but it's one of those things where, either go all the way in or like do something about it. It's like you're sitting there. I remember sitting there with Nick watching every player that we had on the list of people we wanted to get go to the Padres, a team that we were actively chasing. So not only did they go make their already good bullpen better, but then they went and got Ryan O'Hearn. They went and got Ramon Laureano. These are guys that we wanted to be able to play defense, but also, be able to be a part of it, upgrading this offense. And they didn't do it. So it felt like we just kind of sat on the fence. We didn't go for it and we didn't, sell. And I think, unfortunately, we are going to be worse next year because of that. I think but because we did this, we're obviously it helped a little bit this year, but ultimately we're blocking the production of our young players. And if we would have sold, we would have been able to potentially stash the farm a little bit more to make next year and maybe the year after's Reds team better. So, we've already talked a lot about, I think there's been a lot of discourse between a lot of different people on Chatterbox about that trade deadline. And it's also easy now when it feels like it's over to criticize it, right?
Of course.
If they go and they're 2 up on the Mets and in the playoff spot, then right. You're like, oh man, what a move Andujar, Littell, and Hayes have been. Look at how much they've added, right? So it's easy to sit here a month and a half later looking at what the record is and say, well, why didn't you do this? So, I understand that we're kind of playing that game here, but still it's, it does come back down. I think every conversation we have has ended up back on roster construction. It's just like, we don't think that this is, we're not good enough. We don't have a good enough roster to be able to take advantage of an 8-game losing streak by the Mets, to, take advantage of the fact that, all these other teams are coming back to earth And now we can't run with that. So unfortunately, I think we do land in the same spot. It's just like we don't agree with how this roster is going to be constructed. And they're going to have some weird decisions to make this year or this upcoming offseason. Like, do they say, all right, Stal, you're all of a sudden first base, and CES, what happens to him, right? Obviously, he has had some prolonged not success in the majors, but he's still a prospect. Spencer Steer, do you say, hey, go back to left field where he did not really cover himself in glory defensively? Gavin Lux, we still have him up for another year. What do we do with him? Is he just going to be a full-on DH that just, slugs under 600 and basically, blocks other people that can hit home runs? It's like it's going to be weird what they do, how they move things around in order to make things better. And unfortunately, it's, I don't see what the clear answer is going to be.
The answer needs to be that Nick Kurtz has to be elite at his job, or else you're going to continue to get results like this.
I agree.
And the question is he elite at his job? I don't want this to turn into like, oh, the Reds go out and they get swept to the A's, and all of a sudden now the sky is falling and the organization is completely terrible and Nick Kurtz is the worst at his job. I don't want it to come off like that, and I don't think that's totally fair. And you know what? They could rattle off 5 more, and all of a sudden doesn't make them better or worse at their job. The reality is that there's going to have to be some hard questions asked about Nick Kurtz and the front office as a whole on what the direction is, and are they capable of getting themselves to a spot where they actually have one of the better teams in the division and or baseball. And in order for that to happen, in my opinion, Mike, they're going to have to make some bold moves, and they've not ever done that. They've been very vanilla forever. It's always keep everybody. We're going to keep everybody. We're not going to make any crazy moves, and that just is impossible to do, in my opinion. You're going to have to, at some point, I'll say this. You're gonna have to find guys in your organization that you're smart enough to know that you don't think that they're going to be good major league talent, but the metrics that other front offices they still love them, or they had a great season in Double and AAA like CES, and they're able to move them while their stock is incredibly high, and they're able to get something in return that is actually going to provide your big league club some value. CES is a perfect example of how a bad front office would operate. They don't move him they don't move him at all, right? At any point when he was incredibly hot at AAA or Double in AAA in 2023. They then decide that they are going to shelve him. They're going to shelve him. And now you're going to trade him after basically his stock is at an all-time low. And if you're not going to trade him, Mike, then I would just say, what is the plan? Because you went out and you paid a guy a lot of money to play third base. Your top prospect that looks the part. Sal Stewart looks the part so far. Say whatever you want about him. He's got 3 home runs and 30 at-bats. It's pretty damn good. Is he going to be a DH? Was CS going to be a DH? My point in saying all this is that he's going to have to make more bold moves that turn out to be brilliant moves, because this whole notion of just waiting your time for the Cam Colliers to come up and replace this guy or whatever, it seems like by that point, Mike, we are already losing a couple players because they're either arbitration eligible that it's going to cut into payroll, or more importantly, their free agency is going to come available and they're going to be gone, and then Cam Collier is going to slide in and we're going to stay mid when we might have been elite. We'll see. But that's the issue. People are asking why we haven't talked maybe about the game itself, because if you watch the game, it's really not worth talking about, okay? They did the same song and dance. They jump out to an early lead. They once again get a guy to third base with nobody out. They can't get him in, and then they give up some home runs. Nick Lodolo obviously was cruising for a minute, but then was prone to the long ball in a hitter-friendly park, I might add, and against a team that hits home runs. So you have those two things. And sometimes these outings happen. I'm not going to kill Lodolo for the outing, but I guess that's what happens when the Reds score 4 runs, Mike. Everyone wants to blame the pitching.
Yeah, it's that team, we talked about it last night. That team hits left-handed pitching pretty well. And to be honest, I thought he was looking pretty good. And there's a couple turning points too, where it's like he gets, I think he has 2 strikes on Jacob Wilson in the bottom of the 5th. He's already got 2 outs and he ends up hitting him. and then Nick Kurtz comes up and hits a home run in the next, and then, to give him a 4-3 lead. So it's just like he had obviously gives up the solo home runs, but like seemed like he had the stuff to be able to get out of that 5th inning and then, potentially even, make it further in this game so we don't have to go to our bullpen like our Maxwell. Yeah, it's unfortunate too, because it's like it felt like the line that we see, obviously it's a good hitting team, but it feels like it had the potential to being so much better, and then we just quite didn't get there. Similar to, it feels like there's been different situations with Andrew Abbott that this year where it's like we're so close. He maybe doesn't have it all the way, but he's getting there, and then just like a couple bad breaks, maybe errors even, that has led to a stat line that hasn't been great. And to be honest, like they scored a bunch of their runs on Graham Ashcraft, Scott Barlow, and Zach Maxwell in his last couple innings, right? It's just like, if we are able to keep adding on, because we get that lead, right? We get that lead. It's like, let's get to Santillan and Pagan, who I think, yes, we've seen a few blow-ups from those guys, but for the most part, on enough rest, those guys have been effective for us. Those guys have shut the door for the most part. Obviously, we've had a few hiccups, but, we just have, because of our inability to be able to add on, we had all kinds of opportunities last night. I think we had 2 on in the 5th, 2 on in the 6th last night. We had obviously this Lux at third base unable to score because of our inability to add on and give ourselves something. They've been able to come back, and then they've made hay off of our lower leverage relievers. And I think that's unfortunate, a way where obviously we don't want the bullpen to give up those runs, right? But I think that with a little bit more help from the offense there, I think we may are looking at, different sides of these games, because we're able to get a little bit of lead further into this game so that we could get to our higher leverage guys who we trust way more than we do. I guess Scott Barlow used to be a guy that we trust, but he's very clearly, in my opinion, just out of gas. He's just overused. And, Zach Maxwell's a young guy, that is not being put in huge situations for, reasons that were clear. And then, Ashcraft, obviously, in his first start coming back, or his first appearance coming back from an injury where he wasn't even good before the injury. So it's, you want the bullpen to bow up there, but I think the offense could have done a little bit more in this series to, kind of get us to the higher leverage guys. And we would be able to, I think we'd be, we'd at least come out with one of these games, maybe both of the last 2 games that we saw.
Yeah, styles make fights, and it felt like in that ballpark against this team, you knew how you were going to have to win more than likely. It wasn't going to be the 2-1 games that we've become accustomed to in Cincinnati this year, because our offense isn't good enough and our pitching has been absolutely elite. And now, since the pitching struggled a little bit over a series, some people are gonna say that maybe you're just tuning in after like maybe intermittent starts, because let's face it, the Reds entered Sacramento or whatever you want to call these folks, the A's. They entered the series in a spot where the buzz was back around town. The bandwagon was starting to fill back up again. So if you just started paying attention and you're asking yourself on a show like this, why are we talking about the offense so much? It's because this was what this series was supposed to be about. You're supposed to outscore the A's. You got to find a way to outscore. Now, I get it. They're not supposed to go out and score maybe 14 runs the other night, but the reality is that this is going to happen. Starting pitching is going to regress from time to time. Your bullpen is going to struggle from time to time. Can your offense, as you just said, bow up and find a way to win? And they just weren't capable of doing that. And I also believe in momentum. I believe in momentum significantly in sports. And you're never going to convince me when you strand a guy at third base with nobody out, with a chance to extend your lead when you haven't given up a run yet. It doesn't give the other team a little bit of life. It doesn't give them a little bit of confidence. I'm not saying you would have buried them. I'm not saying they would have quit or rolled over if you find a way to score. I think Gavin Lux. But I definitely feel like you just kind of you don't poke the bear. You don't give them a feeling that they might have a chance to get some momentum. But we can't do it. Yet again, another guy at third base with I keep saying less than 2 outs. Another guy at third base with nobody out. And we still couldn't score him.
And I think where a lot of the frustration lies with me too is specifically in us against that bullpen, right? This is an Athletics bullpen that was bottom 4, bottom 5, depending on what metrics you like to use. They sold that is with Mason Miller, who we saw how good he was, right, for half the year, right? They sold him off. They sold the part of their bullpen. So this is like this is a bullpen that we should be able to take advantage of. And in the 3 games, the Athletics bullpen pitched 12 2/3 innings, giving up 1 run and 10 strikeouts. So this bullpen that should have been our, the thing we can take advantage of, the place where we can hopefully, claw back some of these runs that we're going to inevitably give up to this offense. And we were just completely ineffective. And that 1 run was today, a Sal Stewart home run. Like without that, and frankly, what we say, it moved you up to 6% win probability, right? So pretty meaningless home run. Like we're talking, 13 innings with no runs, zero runs against a bullpen that, is a bunch of dudes that I had never heard of. I feel like I follow baseball, and the only guy that I heard of was Sean Newcomb, who was like failed in 3 different spots and got picked up by the A's because they needed somebody to fill out their bullpen. And they just completely were just non-factors against the bullpen that, should have been a place in which we were able to hopefully score some runs. And boy, we didn't.
It just didn't happen, did it? All right, folks. As a reminder, you can text and or call 988 day or night. It's okay to not be okay. It's an anonymous hotline 24/7. You can also visit mantherapy.org as well to get some help. Also, we have some super chats. Let's get to those right now. Savo says, this manager is keeping us out of the playoff with his decisions, and we have a number 3 hitter that can't get the ball out of the infield. That's fair. Listen, I don't know why we haven't moved him. I get you want to be stubborn at some point and come on, man. How long does a guy have to go without any juice, any pop, and you just keep shoving him back in the same spot that many of us don't even think he should have been in the first place? Like Ellie De La Cruz is not a 3-hole hitter, but he's sat there all year because we're just going to act like it's important for him psychologically. I'm going to go on a rant maybe here, Mike. I'm sorry. But if we think that psychologically speaking, it's going to do him bad if we take him out of the 3-hole, have you watched what's going on? Have you not thought to yourself, man, you know what? Maybe on second thought, I was wrong about that. Maybe we could move him. Maybe down in the order. Hell, put him at leadoff if you'd like. Do something. Do something. You can't sit here and continue to watch a guy get his absolute tail kicked in and not throw the white towel in. You can't not stop the fight. If this was a boxing match, they would have stopped it a month and a half ago, Mike. It's gotten ugly. All right? This whole 3-hole hitting Ellie situation has got to stop. I'm not saying it's going to fix his problems, but I'm saying I'd like for my baseball team to have a guy hitting a 3-hole that I think can hit the ball over the fence. And until Ellie proves that he's capable of doing that right now, move him somewhere else. And you know what? Maybe he'll start hitting the ball over the fence because it takes pressure off of him or something. I don't know. I'm not saying it will fix him, but let's give it a shot. We've tried almost everything else. Why not try that? But we don't do that. So I'm not trying to say that the manager is keeping us out of the playoffs, but we have done a lot of things that make little to no sense, Mike.
Yeah, it's to the point where this series I trusted the bottom of the lineup. It's like, oh, we got Stevenson, Benson, and Sal Stewart coming up. Okay, I feel better about let's get a rally going here. And it's like, oh, we got the top of the lineup up. And it's like, oh, well, okay. Don't feel good about that. Yeah, the continual expectation that I'm putting him in the 3-hole, and that's where he is. In my mind, it's admirable that he wants to play every day and he wants to be the 3-hole hitter, that's nice. But hey, I also want to be the Reds starting shortstop. It doesn't mean that just because I want something or just because this player wants something means that we have to stick to that all year long with this prolonged level of struggling that's going on, lack of success. So, I understand maybe this worked for David Ortiz, right?
Yeah,
some guy that had a track record of sustained success. Maybe this worked for, some of these guys that he managed previously, Jose Ramirez, right? That had years of sustained success. It's
Manny Ramirez.
23. Right. Ellie's 23 with one good year under his belt. A good year, a very good year, but, not – and in my opinion, somebody that's, you're like, that the track record speaks for itself. He'll figure it out. It's like, give a guy a break. Help him out here. Give him days off. Move him around in the order. We're willing to do that with literally everybody else besides him and Friedel. He's like, we've been shuffling people up and down, being like, oh, he's hot, he's batting second. Oh, now he's cold, he's batting ninth, and we're bringing this guy batting second. We've been moving people around all year, except for the guy that is really, really struggling for us in the 3-hole. One of the most important slots, and one of the guys that's going to get one of the most sets of at-bats in a year, right? Because of where he sits in the lineup. And we're not willing to move him. And that's, to me, that has been pretty frustrating of a situation to continue to play out, especially with his failings, I guess, in this past month and a half.
Been hard-headed. He's been very hard-headed about that, and he's decided not to move off of it. And at this point, you just feel like you're kind of and I say this reluctantly, and I don't mean it to come off as like maybe like age discrimination, but as you get older, I feel it myself. As you get older, you kind of tend to be like, you know what, this is the way that I've done it. I ain't changing it because this is all I know, and you're not prone to maybe even trying to adjust something, even though you're more than likely not right. Even though you're more than likely not accurate anymore about what the best way is of going about something. So I don't know. Jacob Doyle says, we have had every opportunity in the world to be a playoff team this year, and we just don't want it. Yeah, no, they've squandered every opportunity. There's no doubt about it. It's been a huge disappointment. Big Red Machine says, what this organization has done to Benson, Ellie, CES, Hines, along with the countless horrific in-game decisions, is absolutely malpractice. If it weren't for Benson and CES, Boston, our season would have been over months ago. Like we had some great. I know for a fact that Will Benson was playing pretty good baseball, and then he just went absent. He was literally on the side of milk cartons for 2-3 months. CES, I don't know about him. I'm not going to sit here and act like if we had CES, it would change everything. At the end of the day, too, none of these guys are proven, so we're going to sit here and keep playing musical chairs with probably most of them because we're not even sure if they're whether they're Major League Baseball talents or not. But that just goes back to what we were talking about earlier, not to continue to rehash subjects, but the development, I think the development's been the most disappointing thing in the plan of what their plan of development is. I don't want to go like even like something as simple as this. Duno, right? One of the top prospects in this organization, no doubt about it, has a great year. He's 19 years old. And I'm not trying to be overly mean about this. It's gonna sound a little harsh. He's gonna have to get in better shape, to be honest with you, to probably play in Major League Baseball. He's 19 years old. It's not like he's 30 on the back end of his career. The kid's 19 years old. Is there a development plan for this kid? Is he on a regimen? Is he on a health and diet regimen? I'm just being honest. I'm just asking questions that, like, he's in a Major League Baseball organization. Are we tracking this stuff? Are we asking this out of our prospects? Or are we just closing our eyes and saying, yep, they're going to develop, they'll figure it out on their own, and they'll show up at the big leagues or they won't? I'm not trying to be overly mean. I'm just saying the kid's 19. What's he going to look like at 24 if it keeps going the way it's going?
Yeah, I think part of the issue too is maybe even less of, hey, develop yourself, and more of just like inconsistency with developments by levels, right? We see a AAA team that is mashing home runs because of the players that they have there, and then the inconsistency with what the hitting philosophy is in the majors. And I think this is something that I think stems throughout the whole organization. Is just there needs to be some level of singular plan. Even if I don't like what the plan is, even if I disagree with the plan, I want there to be a plan. We do this. We go and we do. And I think we've seen that change in the pitching. Derek Johnson has become the pitching czar over the entire, all the way down, and said, this is how we are going to pitch. This is how we are going to develop our players. This is how we are going to set them up to get them to be successful in the big leagues. And we are seeing that. We are seeing not only obviously some of these high draft picks that we've pulled in, but we're seeing development to Andrew Abbott's, the Zach Maxwell's even, right? The Connor Phillips. These are people that we've gotten in and have shown development, have shown growth, and have led to potential major league success. That doesn't exist, it seems like, in the back and offensively, right? It's just like we got these stars that come up here and then stall out because we don't have anyone to help them keep growing. So that, to me, that's it. It's less of like, hey, go figure it out yourself. It's that they're hearing different voices when they go from Daytona to Dayton, from Dayton to Chattanooga, from Chattanooga to Louisville to Cincinnati. We're hearing different philosophies, it feels like. And that is leading to Ellie, being up there in between, very clearly in his head in between. He's like, I've got all this power, but I'm desperately trying to strike out less. And so because of that, I'm going to, take strike 3 right down the middle because I don't want to swing and miss at one. I think it's led to these mindsets that it's not letting our players play to the best of their abilities because of this mixed messaging. And that to me is what's the most frustrating. It's like, let's just get on the same page. Let's just, I don't have a lot of faith that Tito is hanging it up at the end of this year. But whoever the thing is, he's not here for the long haul, right? He's here for next year. It was a 2 or 3 year deal. I forget what it was, but just like the next person that we hire, can we get somebody in here that's going to do what Derek Johnson did and level set everything for the entire organization? Is like, from Arizona on up, we are going to do this and we're going to stick to it, and we're going to draft players that fit that system. We're going to sign players that fit that system. We're going to trade for players that fit that system. And then we are going to at least bring that up so that we can see that into fruition in the big leagues. That's what I want. That's what I want to see this organization do. And I'm not sure if we have it in us to do something like that. I don't know how long we'll be saddled with Tito's, old school baseball thinking, but I think if we're ever going to be able to see development, consistent development, which we're going to need to do with our small market team, that is what we're going to have to do. We are going to have to get on the same page as our pitching and develop from within in a consistent manner.
Let's be clear on this. There's one guy that hired Tito. There's one guy that's supposedly the director of baseball operations and holds the keys supposedly to every single thing that the Reds franchise does from a baseball perspective. And the question I have is what do we do at an elite level that separates us from the average teams in this league? And I have a hard time figuring out what that is. Tell you can quickly go to the Brewers and say, well, this is the style of play that they have. Maybe they've gotten a little bit lucky. I'll agree to that. Do I think that they're this good? No. But this is who they are. And or Tampa. They've had some success there. So I seen Alex Wallace say this earlier in the chat. I know it's not a super. We're getting ready to go through some more supers. At some point, I'm going and I'm stealing. I'm stealing from them. I am taking somebody directly towards the top of their organization, and I'm overpaying them, and I am asking them to come in and find go find. And again, people are going to think I'm just saying this because I'm a Georgia football fan. I'm just being honest. If you're Ohio State and you want to be elite, what do? You go hire Urban Meyer. You find out a guy that is either on a bounce back or he's had success, and you go get Urban Meyer. If you're Georgia football and you can't figure out how to win, you go get Nick Kirby. Why? Because he's studied. He's been a study under Nick Saban forever.
Kirby Smart?
Yeah. What'd I say?
You said Nick Kirby.
Kirby Smart. Sorry. Like the guy from Florida State. There's no reason as to why he's just magically successful. Dan Lanning at Oregon. Like all of these college football coaches, and I know I'm using an analogy here, they didn't just magically become great college. They studied or were at a great organization before they got there. The last thing I'm going to say, and again, here's where I'm at, and I know Nick's not here to defend him. All I'm saying is I'm going to give it a little bit more time, but my question is simple. what has Nick Krall done to earn the right to sit here and trust a guy for a significant amount of time? Or is he just this is where I get really crazy. I'm not trying to be conspiracy theorist. Or is he just a guy that puts up with the BS that he's handed to him and he doesn't have the balls to say, nope, I'm not going to operate that way. This is the way we're going to have to operate to win. And if we don't do it this way, I'm out. But it's a nice cushy job. So you don't want to tell your bosses that. So you just put up with the BS. I don't know which one it is, but I'm going to be patient for a couple more years before maybe I'm completely slamming the bandwagon doors of saying, let's go find somebody that has legitimate baseball success of playoff baseball and go steal them from somewhere else. All right. Tim Barnes says, I hate to be cynical, but, well, I don't know if you've watched the show, but you could see this coming. They didn't win games they should. If they have the chance to take the next step, they won't. Thanks, Tim. You're not wrong. Mike Dean's back-to-back super says, meaningful baseball in September isn't as fun as we hoped. And he says the A's equals a team built for home runs on a field built for home runs. Yeah, it'd be kind of nice if we found a way to. Yeah, must be nice. Savo, once again, with a super says, the Reds don't have a player that will hit 20 home runs this year. Are we the only team in baseball? I don't know. I've not looked that up. I'd like to think Ellie can get to 20 home runs. I mean, there's just no way he doesn't, right? There's no way he doesn't. But the way it looks, I got to tell you, I don't know if I'd be putting money on it.
Only 13 games left.
Yeah.
Good.
Who knows? Who knows? You know what time it is, though. It's the time of the year in the fall. I don't know about you, Mike, but there's nothing better than firing the grill up outside on this time of the year in the crisp air outside. It's nice and cool. You get the heat from the fire. Football's starting to come back on. Yes, I'd like to think that there's some playoff baseball in the air, but what you can do is when you fire that grill up is you can get some Omaha Steaks. Now, here's the thing about Omaha Steaks. Yes, they're a new sponsor. Shout out to Omaha Steaks. From handcrafted steaks to delicious fall favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. We got a bunch of stuff delivered to us, myself and Nick. Sorry, Mike. Maybe I can send you some stuff as well. But I'm going to start basically doing some taste tests. They sent me so much stuff, like everything from steaks to some dogs. I'm sure there's more of appropriate. There's some sirloins in there that I got to test out. But quality, Heartland quality, delivered straight to your door. Omaha Steaks delivers unrivaled quality, variety for every bite, packed with their 100% guarantee. Right now, just so you know, you can get an extra $35 off with the promo code Chatterbox at checkout. It's 50% off right now during the Red Hot Sale event. So you get 50% off site-wide, and then you get 35% off with the code Chatterbox. That's Chatterbox. Hopefully you can spell Chatterbox at this point if you're a Chatterbox fan. But get fired up for the fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sale event and an extra $35 off using the promo code Chatterbox, Chatterbox, at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with the promo code Chatterbox at checkout. See site for details. So, new sponsor came right in time. I mean, they you know what? They picked the perfect time. Never been better timing for Omaha Steaks with Chatterbox Reds. We'll see what we can do. Maybe we can't find a way to mix in some Omaha Steak ads during who knows what, just to try to make sure that all of our loyal listeners and viewers will actually, maybe be able to take advantage of that deal, because I'm sure that they're, we got a lot of people that just don't really like to kind of, what would it be? Throw salt into the wound, right? Who wants to listen to Chatterbox Reds after I've gotten my guts ripped out of me this weekend when they went to a team that doesn't even want them anymore, and they're not even going to have them in their ballpark anymore in the next, year or two. It is funny. I wanted to say there was 2 Sundays in Oakland now, but they weren't even in Oakland, turns out. So,
no. Yeah, it's I've had Omaha Steaks before as well. I've ordered some of those. They're quite good. That's I'm looking forward to that. That's pretty cool.
We'll use the code Chatterbox, man.
That sounds like a great idea. I'm gonna go playing that out right after this with my wife.
There you go. Hey man, 50% off plus $35 off. I think I said 35% off, but I think it's 50% off, and then you get $35 off, which is
we need a graphic. Craig, we need Craig. Craig,
we'll
we need to make a graphic on that one. Yeah,
we'll get that for the next show maybe. No more super chats. So from here on out, we're gonna go and kind of round out the show. We have Reds MILB. Craig, I don't know if Craig put these in. I don't know if you put these in, Mike. I don't know if there even is Reds MILB at this point. Do you know if there's Reds MILB?
I have some Reds MILB to talk about. I don't know if we have a graphic on it.
I'll tell you what.
In control of that guy.
Let's just go for it. You ready for this? I'm gonna throw the AAA up there. We'll see if it works. I don't know. It might work. It might not. We'll find out.
All right. Starting in Louisville today, the Bats lost 5-4 to Toledo. They only have one more series left in the year against Nashville, so they're getting to the point now where we're wrapping up that season as well. I'm trying to pull up looks like we got something. Blake Dunn went 1 for 4. Ryan Valade 2 for 3 with a home run. Connor Joe, remember that guy? 2 for 4 with a double. He got DFA'd and then was like, yeah, I'll take your AAA, your assignment. Yasser Zulueta, 2 in the third innings, no runs, 3 strikeouts, continuing to look good in his time down in Louisville. And then TJ Antone obviously got in and pitched as well, not giving up any runs, no strikeouts, but good to see him back on the road to recovery. Even though Louisville lost, they had won 10 in a row, and then I think lost 2 of their next 3. But obviously still some good things that we've seen up in Louisville. All right, you got another one on there? Because there we go. Chattanooga. Chattanooga, obviously, they won their final game of the year, 6-3 over the Rocket City Trash Pandas, one of my favorite mascots in the minor leagues. Easton Sikorsky won an inning and 3 hits, 2 earned runs. Obviously tough. Lenny Torres Jr. down in AA, I think on a rehab assignment. An inning pitched with no earned runs, and I believe got the save there. Leo Balcazar 1 for 4. Ruben Navarro 1 for 5 with a home run, and I got a little thing that's in there. I need to get that.
Austin Hendrick. I'll do it for you, baby.
Yes. Yeah, Austin Hendrick. Let's not forget about that first round pick for 2020. One of Nick Kroll's finest hours. So obviously they actually begin their postseason play on Tuesday at 8 p.m. in Birmingham against the Birmingham Barons. So, I bet you there'll be some Reds fans deciding, hey, you know what? Reds are out of it. Let's watch some playoff baseball. Let's watch the AA Chattanooga Lookouts. And speaking of postseason, the Daytona Tortugas kicked off their best-of-3 Florida State League Championship Series against the Lakeland Flying Tigers. They are a part of the Detroit Tigers system, if you wanted to know. And unfortunately, this game did not go well. The Tortugas were 1 hit and lost the game 6-1. The only hit was Ichiro Kano, and the only run was an Alfredo Alcantara's sac fly in the 6th. This is where Nick normally reads off a bunch of stat lines, but it's a bunch of offers, so we're not going to do that. And the coup de grace, Nick Kirby, avert your eyes. Losing pitcher today was Shea-Yin Lin. Started this game and took the loss. 4 innings pitch, only 1 earned run, but 0 strikeouts. So they got to win the next 2, which they did. They did in the previous series, but they got to go to Lakeland and win the next 2. They're going to claim the Florida State League Championship.
Shea-Yin Lin let us down today, but he won't let us down in 2034.
That's right.
I don't even know what his track is. Maybe I'll be a little more respectful. 2030. I don't know. Maybe 2029.
How old is he now? I'm not even sure how old he is.
He's like 17, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I think he's still pretty young. But yeah, it may be a couple cycles of the next good Reds team until we start seeing Shane.
I'll tell you what would be an awesome gamble. Would be when Shang-In Lin pitches for the Reds. If he does pitch for the Reds, will Nick Kroll be the general manager? Or the baseball of operations? It's a good question. It's a fair question. I think it's a fair question, folks. It's a fair question. Who knows whether or not that will happen or not happen. All right, let's keep it moving just for time's sake here. We do have more baseball to be played. I know that there's a lot of fans that may not feel that way, but damn it, I think it's true. They do have more games to be played. Whether or not you watch them, I don't know, but at least you can come back and listen to the recaps on the shows. Maybe you don't want to invest 2.5 hours of watching the games. You'd just rather listen to Chatterbox Reds for 45 minutes to an hour. That might be the better way to go. You might be a little more entertained, perhaps. But we do have who, what, when, where, and why. Go ahead and take it away, Mike. Just the guy we need to be a stopper.
I know. The Reds are going to stumble into St. Louis tomorrow for a 3-game set against another below 500 team, the St. Louis Cardinals. It will be a 7:45 start at Busch Stadium. And like Trace said, pitching for us will be Zach Littell, 9-8 with a 3.78 ERA against left-handed pitcher Matthew Liberatore, 7-12 with a 4.35 ERA. Obviously, Littell coming off a pretty good start in San Diego. Remember that series? Remember when we, took 2 out of 3 from a playoff team and thought we had a playoff chance? I barely do. But anyway, he went 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 runs, and 4 Ks in that start. Has actually faced the Cardinals back on August 29th. Actually, it was a Littell Liberatore start, so we're kind of getting a round 2 of that game. He went 7 innings pitched, but gave up 3 runs and the Reds lost. And it looks like some of the players against him, Ivan Herrera is 2 for 3. Pedro Pajes is 1 for 3. So not Nolan Gorman 1 for 6. Not anything too crazy when it comes to success or people that have faced him. Herrera and Pajes have both hit home runs against him. And then Matthew Liberatore, since July 1st, is 1-6 with a 5.59 ERA. So kind of been struggling here in the second half of the year. Faced the Reds in that game where he went 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 runs, and 4 Ks, but did get the win. Some notable batting against him. Miguel Andujar is 5 for 6 against him, so hopefully he's in the lineup with a home run. And then Noelvi Marte is 3 for 6 against him, and Jose Trevino also 3 for 6, and Key Brian Hayes is 4 for 16 with a double and a walk and 2 strikeouts. So, so we've seen some success against Liberatore. We'll see if it makes a difference. But, yeah, I guess we only have people from our division left. I think we got it's Cardinals to Cubs to Pirates to Brewers or something like that. So
went out.
A bunch of familiar foes. See if we can end the season on not just a wet fart, which is what this past series ended up like.
I tell you right now, they went out, they make the postseason. So, you know what? They went out, they make the postseason.
Hot take right there.
That's it. I'll tell you that right now. I'll guarantee you one thing. If they can do that, they'll be in. It'll also help with the tiebreaker against the Giants, considering the record against your own division is a pretty big, important one. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. At this point, I stopped giving up. I've said before, and I'll say it again. I've had this team dead 4 times this year, and they've convinced me to come back 4 times. I've thought about making it 5. I thought about convincing myself tonight to say, hey, this is it. We're done. 5th time. But I'm not doing it. You know what? I'm not doing it. The season's not over. It's not dead. It's on life support. As I said before, the ventilator has been on for quite some time. Whether or not they take us off the ventilator against the Cardinals, we'll find out. But I just want to let everybody know we appreciate them. I do want to give a shout out, as always, to Chatterbox Bengals. If you've not gotten a chance to check them out, please do so. They obviously will have content moving forward with the Bengals. I know there's some folks that are obviously a little disheartened with what happened today with the Cincinnati Bengals, but you know what? It's a long season. And Jake Browning is going to be that guy that can kind of tread some water, all right? Everybody hold some faith in the town. Let's all not get ourselves in a bad spot. Chatterbox Bengals has daily content. Check it out. Also, as a reminder, Smoke Justice, okay? That will be Sunday, September 21st from noon to 5 p.m. Chatterbox Bengals will be live. We'll all hang out there. We'll enjoy ourselves, and we'll go down to Smoke Justice and get ourselves some bourbon and some good old meat. That used to be a thing on this show. 302 Court Street, Covington, Kentucky. Hope to see you there on Sunday, September 21st. Well, that's it. We did a show. There's the graphic as well, Leave it So
Look
Craig,
at that.
I don't know what he did. His wife was probably like hanging out with him. You know, they were watching a movie, and Craig had his AirPods in and heard we needed a graphic for Omaha Steaks. So as a reminder, Omaha Steaks Red Hot Sale event, 50% off site-wide, plus get an extra $35 off using the code Chatterbox. That's CHATTERBOX for an extra $35 off. OmahaSteaks.com. And in parentheses, our main man Craig here put, I think that's all correct. I think it is too. I think he did a good job. Now, from here on out, all we got to do is hope the Reds win every single game. You know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to hope for that. Mike, it was a pleasure doing the show with you, man. I don't know if we got off the rails too much. I'm sure I pissed, hopefully. By the way, shout out to Nick. Obviously, he's having his baby today. I don't know. I haven't gotten any news. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I could have gotten news. My phone, I've not really looked at it, but maybe 5 seconds today. I don't know what's going on at this point in Chatterbox, but I do know this. The Reds need to win some more games. It was a pleasure doing a show with you, Mike. And we'll be back better than ever again, as always, in the 9th inning live. And hopefully we'll be talking about a Reds win. Till then, enjoy your night and wake up tomorrow and remember it's just baseball, because that's all it is. Outro, Trace.